Hi everyone, Meg here with another week of Tranquility Talk. Just a little check-in for the group on this idea of creating more tranquility in your life. And I think on the surface, it's this idea of wanting to create tranquility, wanting to create more peace, more calm in your life. And that makes sense, especially in times like this where everything is just kind of like an overwhelm, right? And I think underneath all of the desire for desiring this tranquility, this peace, this serenity in your life is this underlying need to be seen, to be heard, to be understood. And isn't that what we all want from other people? We want to be seen, understood, heard. And in this time of overwhelm, there's just a lot of chaos going on, right, in the world right now. I think it's more important than ever to make sure that if you're not feeling seen, if you're not feeling heard, if you're not feeling understood, go back to yourself and ask yourself, where do I not see myself? Where do I not hear myself? Where do I not understand myself? Because everything starts here within you. And so the topic of today is you are the guru of you. And I think so often we look for outside validation. We want to be seen, we want to be heard, we want to be understood by other people, and yet you are the guru of you. And so today's theme is about not putting the energy outward for validation from other people and instead going inward. And when you can go inward and actually be with yourself through the good times and the bad times, when you can ride it out, when you can ride out the waves of chaos, when you can surf the waves of tranquility, because that's what life is, right? It's like a bunch of waves, like of emotions that come and then they go. If you can do that and you can learn to really be with yourself, that's when you start to maybe reach this place of moments of tranquility, of peace that you're so desiring. I gave a talk this week to it's a healthcare organization. It's an association. It's called the Healthcare Financial Management Association. It's a national organization that has an annual meeting each year, and I was supposed to be out in lovely Montana in person as one of their speakers, and obviously we couldn't do that, so we did it live, which was really fun yesterday. And my talk was on this idea of centered leadership. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's an awesome book. I'll put it up here, by Joanne Barsh and Joanne Lavoie, Centered Leadership. And I love this book because it's more of a holistic view of leadership. It's not just how you operate at work with your work team. It's also it's so applicable to how you operate at home with your home team or in your community. It's about becoming more balanced and centered throughout all areas of your life. And so on this talk yesterday that I gave to this group, we talked about the 5 elements of centered leadership, which are: number 1 is finding meaning in your life. Number 2 is reframing. So learning to look at quote unquote failures and garner or gather the learning from it and then move on. Don't linger in the self-criticism or the sadness. The 3rd element is connection. So creating connection with other people and yourself through trust, reciprocity, etc. The 4th one is engaging, so really owning your presence, finding your voice, both figuratively and literally. And then the 5th one is the one I wanted to talk about within centered leadership. It is managing your energy. And so the topic obviously for today is this idea of you're the guru of you. You know it works for you, because I think we're bombarded, especially if you are like me and you love reading all these books on personal development and podcasts. And so you're bombarded then with all these tips and tools, and try this strategy and try that strategy. And here's the deal. You know you best. And I bet you already know what works for you. It's just executing that. And that's when I think that this desire for tranquility is achieved when we listen to ourselves and we actually take action on what we know will work for us. And so so we talked about that yesterday in terms of managing your energy. So I just have a couple questions for you. I'll give you a little snippet of what I did for my talk yesterday. I'm going to ask you two questions and just grab onto what intuitively comes to mind. Number one, what builds your energy? Think about it. What builds your energy? The people, habits, different rituals in your day, situations, choices. What builds your energy? And then the other question is, what drains your energy? And I think that's really important in getting to this space of feeling more peace in your life. I ask people when I work with them, what do you want more of and what do you want less of? And they always say, well, I want less of overwhelm and stress, but what I want more of is I want to get grounded. I want to get connected to who I am. And it's really important, if that's what you're desiring, to do an analysis, do a little diagnosis of how you're operating right now in your life. What builds your energy and what drains your energy? And so once you have that in front of you, it's like cracking the egg. You can't get the egg back in the shell. It's like opening up a gift. You can't like shove it back in and like make the wrapping paper look better. Once you have the knowledge, once you have the awareness of, oh yeah, XYZ really drains me, but ABC really lifts me up, then you have the information to make an informed and a smart choice about how to spend your time, who to spend it with. And that's just one thing that we talked about the other day in this talk that I gave, is really identifying what builds your energy and what drains it. And so getting to this place of tranquility, of more peace in your life, is really grabbing onto this idea of finding meaning in your life. One of the first elements of this book, Centered Leadership, is meaning. And the subcomponents of meaning are what makes you happy, what are your strengths and gifts, and what's your purpose. So finding meaning in your life, again, going back to this idea of you are the guru of you, you don't need to go to anyone to find out, like, well, what are my strengths and gifts? You know that in your heart. You know, maybe not like right now you know it, but like if you do a little self-introspection, you know what makes you happy. And frankly, if you make a list of 10 things that make you happy, and they can be as simple as going for a walk with your dog, or I don't know, like watching Netflix at night with a bowl of popcorn, or painting, or playing the piano, or hanging out with friends, like it makes you happy. And it's interesting, when I work with people, I ask them that, could you write down right now 10 things that make you happy? And a lot of people struggle with this because we're so caught up in the doing of life, or the worrying of life. And I encourage you to just write a list of 10 things that make you happy and do them. Do one once a day. In my Sober Tranquility group, which is an online group for people that are grabbing onto this concept of living more and just drinking less, it's developing this list of tranquility treats. Like, what can you do other than drink alcohol? When I started on my Sober Tranquility journey, I struggled with that, because I'm like, well, everything revolves around alcohol, doesn't it? Like happy hours and parties, and yeah, like there's a whole nother world. There's a whole nother area of stuff that you can incorporate into your life. And when you start thinking of things that really truly make you happy, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like a ripple effect. You start thinking of more and more and more things. So I encourage you to write that list down of things that make you happy. Write down your strengths. If you're not aware of your strengths and your gifts, ask other people. They'll be happy to tell you. And then your purpose basically is live those gifts, show up with those gifts, show up with your strengths every day, every interaction. If you're at the grocery store and you're having an interaction with someone, and one of your strengths is, exuding love, or kindness, or connection, or any of those, be that person. We worry so much about what our purpose is. Your purpose is really just to stay in the moment, stay in the now, and give your gifts, give your strengths to the world. And when you do that, you start to feel more purposeful, and then all of a sudden, your life begins to have meaning to it. And then what happens when you have meaning to it? You start to feel less stressed and less overwhelmed. You start to feel more tranquil. And so again, you know you best. So we are bombarded on social media, everywhere, other people giving us ideas on, well, you should do this, or you should do that, or you should try that. I invite you to take some inventory this weekend about, number one, what makes me happy? And number two, what are my gifts and what are my strengths? And just immerse yourself into that. Be your gifts, be your strengths, do what makes you happy. And I bet that you start having more of a sense of meaning in your life. I bet you're able to start to manage your energy better. And when that happens, life tends to flow more easily, regardless of what's going on around you. We can never manage anything that's not within our control. And so the more that you can lift up yourself from within, the more you're going to be that light for other people. So there you go. And again, this is a great book. It's called Centered Leadership, and I think it's more of a holistic approach to feeling more centered in your life and stepping into being a leader in your life. You are the guru of you. You don't need to be led by anyone else. You have the wisdom, you have the intuition, you have the life experience to already know what works for you, whether it's a choice on your work and employment, whether it's a choice on, if you want to release weight, what works for you. You know you. And so I encourage you to do that. Step into what makes you happy. Write your list of 10 things that make you happy. And if you can't think of them, think about, what did you like to do when you were 9 years old? Think about it. And if you can't remember that, ask someone who knew you when you were 9. It's kind of a fun experiment. Okay, have a great weekend. And as always, thanks for being part of this group. If you want to check out the 30-day reset, hop on over to sobertranquility.com. Would love to have you there. It's really not about the alcohol. It's putting the alcohol aside and cultivating more joy in your life. It's just 30 days and it's a lot of fun. So, all right, have a good weekend. Love to you all. Bye-bye.